welcome back to DMG. For this video, I bought one of every single drive that Hitachi ever made. No, I'm literally not kidding. Let me say that again. I bought one of every single hard drive Hitachi has ever made. Now these, more specifically, is every variant of the drive chassis that Hitachi has ever put a disc in. This is excluding high RPM drives like their NetApp server drives and their 2.5-inch Ultrastars. These are the 3.5-inch drives that are on SATA or one on IDE. No SAS stuff, no server drives, none of that. Higher end consumer level drives is what we're talking about here. Now, I may monetize this video. I'm sorry if you have to sit through an ad or two, because these actually did cost me a bit of money to accumulate all of these drives. And for obvious reasons, I want to recuperate that through ad revenue. So my apologies if you gotta sit through some extra ads. Anyway, let's get into these drives, because although it may not seem interesting at first, these are actually fascinating. So, let's start with, I choose U. Now, this DeskStar chassis, it's funny because I feel like I can push them around because they're heavy, but they're also fragile. Anyway, this DeskStar chassis is kind of the basis for everything. If we take a look at this one that has a slightly less fortunate fate, keep this image in your mind, because it's going to come up a lot in the future. We have these bits down here, right here. You can see they kind of look like butt cheeks, if I'm being 100% honest. And you have this conical spindle. Now that is or spindle clamp. Now that is to distribute the load more evenly on the platter than just using a circular one that's not raised up. But it's cheaper than putting, 6 to 8 screws around the edge as more advanced drives do. And that is because this is a lower end drive model. It's the DeskStar. It's not really a super amazing drive. I'm not saying it's horrible, it's just not top of the line. Let's take a look at our next chassis, and comparing these, although because of this corner it may look a little different at first, it's the same chassis except for this corner. This one, let me see. So you can see the puncture in this one where I took out the head screw, and it's in the same place on these two chassis. It's right here on this one. I can feel from the depression in the lid, and it's right here on this drive, which is the same place. The interesting thing is, this one had this added notch and a little filter hole up here that this one does not have. This is a 2007 drive. This is a 2008. But they kept making drives in this base chassis for a long time. You can see it has the same edge down here, the same shape up here. The controller board and bottom of the drive are slightly different on this later DeskStar. That just changed over a year. So let's bring some more drives into the picture. What does the Ultrastar from around this time look like? The Ultrastar is their higher end workstation server line of drives. This is a 2008 Ultrastar, and it has 3 screws on the head opposed to a single screw. By the way, these all work, and I've run benchmarks on them, and that will be later in the video. Same general arrangement of screws, but it has a filter here, and this drive does not. It also has another filter here. This drive does not. It's a little taller, but if we flip it over, That is the interesting part. It doesn't have these corners, and it has these metal bits. That is to provide extra shielding from electromagnetic interference for, you know, for example, if you're using multiple drives like that, as you would be in a server. And this is the birth of the high-end HGST drive, but this isn't the first in this chassis. This is a DeskStar from 2006. It uses the IDE interface, and it's in virtually the same chassis. It has the same 3 screws on the head. It has this little scoop here. It has a screw on the top of the drive that goes through to the platters. Same filter placement. Same shape like this as we saw on this drive. But the thing is, and actually on the inside, it doesn't look too different. These have a little more in common with this drive, which has the filter up there. That's a slightly higher end DeskStar. Now these, in addition to having an extra screw on the top for the platters, they have about 6 screws, if I recall correctly, around the spindle clamp. That helps with platter stability, and that really, you know, improves, you know, the reliability of these drives. So although this is a DeskStar, it's a higher end DeskStar, and the lower end DeskStars from the era would have been in this chassis. Let's bring in another DeskStar. How about from 2 years later than this one? This is the 2010 DeskStar. Now we can see they've upgraded to 2 screws on the head, one here-ish and of course one there. They have a filter right here, which is actually different than any other HGST drive, except for one that we'll get to in a bit. And I'm really excited to get to that drive. But we can see same general shape around the edges, filter bit up there, and it has the outline for those metal bits. You can see where they would have gone had this been an Ultrastar, but they just aren't there. Now, the angle the cable comes out of the controller board at is also somewhat of a good indicator that these are different models of drive. Let's go forward and check out the Ultrastar from that year. This is a 2010 Ultrastar, and I hate to say this, but this is when they lost those metal pieces on the bottom. The Ultrastar from 2010 featured an entirely new chassis. We can see, just by looking at the bottom, that it looks similar at first glance, but the whole bottom is raised. This allowed for more platters inside the actual drive, which is a good thing because these are CMR drives. None of that slow SMR stuff here, only the best. But we can see they kept pretty much the same lid. Filter is in the same place. We have the 3 head screws, as previous Ultrastars did. And then the next drive I have is actually from 2014. This is one I pulled out of my workstation, and I actually use this for file storage day to day. So yeah, I really trust this drive, even though it is over 10 years old at this point. This is pretty much the same chassis. The filter is slightly moved, and the bottom, the controller board is the other way around, but the last drives that Hitachi made pretty much looked like this. Now, you may have seen this guy earlier and thought, well, that's not a Hitachi drive. Why did you cross out whatever was there and write HGST? Well, this is a Toshiba drive. However, this was made by Toshiba after they bought one of HGST's old facilities. And we can actually see the similarities. I'm going to put a picture on screen of a Hitachi drive, an HGST, in this chassis. I didn't buy a Hitachi drive in this chassis because I already had a Toshiba one and it's literally the same. I've dissected one of these Toshibas in the past, and I'm going to put a picture of it on screen. We can see in the picture it has this conical spindle clamp, and it has the same design around the bottom, even though it doesn't show it on the lid, the two scoops kind of looking design. We can also see filter position is the same as on this, Desk Star, and it has this same bit here. These two screws are in the same place as, you know, all of these Hitachi drives from years previous. It's got the filter up here, like Hitachi drives from years previous. And, let's see, I don't think it's too similar on the bottom. Actually, no, I lied. It's near identical to this one on the bottom. So, this is a Hitachi drive. Now, I really don't like the design of these. These were their super low-end drives, and they stopped making these after a little while and just focused on better constructed drives like this. But that is pretty much it for the comprehensive HGST lore.
However, there is one thing that I cannot forget, and that is the benchmarks, so let me pull those up for you. I'll arrange them in the order they were in the video. So here's our 2007 Desk Star. All of these were tested on a fully empty GPT partition on my workstation's RAID controller, with the settings you can see in Crystal Disk Mark here, except for the IDE one, which I tested on my XP system. Alright, I couldn't quite fit all of them on screen, and that is not what I meant to click on. Let me just get myself out of the way here so I can show you these benchmarks. So we can see that the 2007 and 2008 Desk Stars are very similar. The 2008 one does slightly beat the 2007 one I have, but that's likely because this is a 320 gig, this is an 80 gig, so that is that's the difference. And its reading is 931 gigabytes because I didn't restart Crystal Disk Mark when I put in the new drive because I tested these all, you know, like within a few minutes of each other. I think all of them say that. Then we have the 2010 Desk Star, which is faster by a huge margin than all of the previous Desk Stars. And then the Toshiba, which is technically a bit faster, but it's SMR, unlike every other drive here, which is CMR, which makes it considerably slower. Now here's our IDE drive. This is the 2006 Desk Star, but the higher-end Desk Star. Now here's our next Desk Star, or high-end drive, which is the Ultrastar, from 2008, and we can see that it does beat the Desk Star in terms of read, but actually falls behind severely in write and random, which is pretty interesting. The next Ultrastar does manage to beat both. Actually, no, it's still slower in random write than the IDE one. That's funny. And this is the 7K2000 drive that I use in my workstation. I wiped the whole drive for this video. And yeah, here's its benchmark scores. So overall, there has been a notable improvement, and there is actually quite the difference between the Ultrastar and Desk Star line of drives.
I just wanted to make this video because it's a thing that's very interesting to me. So if you are interested, please let me know. I could do, you know, history of other drive manufacturers because that would be pretty interesting as well. But anyway, that is it for this video. Thank you everyone for watching. Only about 10% of my viewers are actually subscribed, so if you want to leave the 90% that aren't cool, hit that subscribe button and, you know, just watch my videos. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. See you next time.